Hi, my name is Andries. I was shot when I was 10 years old, and I believe that my story may have a message to all South Africans, and I hope that the lessons that I've learned in my life can have some value to the people who hear it. The main purpose of this page is to address some of those difficult topics that we don't always want to talk about. So it's not a typical feel-good page. There are many pages out there that helps us to focus on the positive and forget about the negative for a while, and they are all necessary and wonderful because it helps us to not get sucked into the negativity. But unfortunately, it's also like walking around a mess in your own house. You can ignore the mess, pretend it's not there, but just for a while, because it will not go away until you roll up your sleeves and actually do something about it. And in the same way, I believe in South Africa, these conversations cannot be ignored. We need to start addressing these conversations or topics in a respectful, non-threatening, non-violent manner in order to get solutions for it. So I'm going to share some of my stories and ideas and suggestions, and I hope I can encourage you to do the same. In 1992, my brother and I were victims of a farm attack. It was a horrible experience, and I'm still surprised at how clearly I can remember the details of that day. One of the first things my mom told me after I woke up from the coma was, "Andries, do not let the seeds of racism grow in your heart. You need to forgive and remember, not all black people are bad." Now, it may sound strange that she would say that, but she was addressing a much larger problem, because at that time, racism was at a bursting point in South Africa. Our attack wasn't an isolated event. It was one of many farm attacks that happened at the time. It was right at the end of the apartheid era. There was a handful of white people on the far right who wanted to go to war and didn't want to let go of apartheid. And then there were some black people on the other side who called for the killing of all white people. And there were some black tribes fighting each other over who will rule after apartheid. The country was in an absolute turmoil of chaos, division, and hatred. But our family and our home were not racist, and my mom proudly held on to that. She refused to give in to the idea that everything was about black and white. Even after her youngest son was shot dead, her other son in hospital fighting for his life, and people in the street danced to the tune of "Kill the farmer, kill the boer." She simply refused, and she taught us that all races have good and bad people. Now, her words echo through my mind as I look at South Africa today, and I see how many seeds of racism are sown, and how many of those seeds have taken root in people's hearts and grown to these stubborn, massive trees of hatred that pushes us apart. We can never undo the past, but we can all learn from it, and making the same mistakes over and over is just stupidity. So we are in this tug of war, fighting one another and trying to get even with tit for tat. But what if we start pulling in the same direction and work together to build something incredible? During the Rugby World Cup in 2023, we showed the world and ourselves again that anything is possible if we stand together. We have fought hard in the past, but we are so much better when we fight together. I believe the word responsibility means if you have the ability to respond, then it's your responsibility. So, where do we start? Here's an analogy that I believe may help us with that. Years ago, I lived with my future in-laws who had this fat cat in the house that no one liked. Every now and then, this cat would vomit in the kitchen during the night. Since I was always up first, I would walk in on the mess. I then clean it, and no one would even know it was there, so no brownie points for me. But I knew that if I left it, the next person who walked in would know I saw it and didn't do anything about it. We have the same type of dilemma here in South Africa. Every morning we wake up to a mess on our doorstep. We can pretend it doesn't exist, we can walk around it, and we can blame each other for it and fight over it. But the reality is, the generations after us will look at us and say, "You saw the mess, right? You knew about it. What did you do to fix it?" And sometimes rolling up your sleeves to clean a mess you didn't create will not give you a hero status, because the people after you may not even know, recognize, or appreciate your hard work. But that's life. Sometimes you got to clean a mess you didn't create in order to give a clean start to those after you, because that becomes your legacy. The mess in South Africa is a mixture of poverty because of unemployment and failing infrastructure. We also have world record crime rates and rape statistics, but these things are just the symptoms of a much bigger problem. And I believe the biggest problem in South Africa is the fat cats in the house. Let me read the definition of a fat cat to you. The symbolic meaning of a fat cat typically refers to wealthy, powerful individuals who benefit excessively from their status at the expense of others. This term is used to describe people, especially politicians, who have used their influence to gain substantial wealth or privileges in corrupt ways. A fat cat is not only rich and greedy, but also totally uncaring about the less fortunate. They are lounging in luxury while directly or indirectly causing harm to others. Now, fat cats don't belong to any specific race. They can be white, black, or even grey, because these cats are not defined by their colors, but by their character. These fat cats are causing a mess through their corruption, greed, and absolute lack of care for anyone outside of their circle of cronies. And the reason why they are thriving so well in South Africa is because they use a very old technique to maintain power and control. And it's called divide and conquer. This technique is not unique to South Africa. It has been used by leaders all over the world to divide people in order to maintain power. It was used by the apartheid government to divide us, and it's still used today by the current political leaders. This initiative is not a call for people to stand up against the fat cats, but to become aware of the tactics that they use to divide us, because that's where they get their power from. They want us divided. They want us to pick a side, blame the mess on each other and fight over it. They don't want us to have conversations to find common ground and actually get along and work together, because that will take their power away from them. Racism is used as a tool to divide us, and it's not nearly as big in real life as it is in politics. In life, we live together, we do sport together, we gym together, we coexist with little to no problems, but politicians always find ways to wedge us apart. For example, if you're a young black person in South Africa, it must be very hard for you not to hate white people, because anyone born after apartheid have been bombarded with the idea that white people are the worst people on the planet. You have been told that Africa was heaven on earth before the evil white man arrived. Every day in the news, you are constantly told that all the problems in South Africa can somehow be traced back to the evil white man. But if you fall for that lie and you believe that all white people are bad and racist, then you step right into that mess. Then you do exactly what the fat cats want you to do. Then you become a puppet on a string. If you're a white South African, I understand how hard it is to stay positive, because every day you hear how evil and bad you are. No matter how hard you work in life, you are always depicted as a crook, as a thief, as an evil person who stole from others. You see how white people lose their jobs, their income, their houses because of their race. You see white people being arrested, held captive while the prosecution process is dragged out for days simply to spite the victims and their families. Now take hold of that emotion, that feeling, that anger, and realize that is exactly how black people felt during apartheid. So no amount of wrongs can ever make a right. And if you hate all black people and distance yourself from all black people because of that, then you do exactly what the fat cats want you to do. Then you become a puppet on a string in their silly show. If you are any other race in South Africa, you must be sick and tired of being like a ping pong ball between the two sides. During apartheid, you wanted to be on the white side. Now you want to be on the black side for BEE privileges. But every year you find out that your BEE status is worth less and less. Almost like a child between two divorced parents, you may feel that you don't belong anywhere. But the fact is, you don't belong on the white side. You don't belong on the black side. You belong in South Africa, a country that's supposed to celebrate every culture and every race and allow everyone to flourish. We are like siblings with very unique personalities stuck in the same house. We can fight all day long and hate each other, or we can accept each other with our differences, embrace each other, and stand together as a family. So why don't we stop trying to fix each other, and let's show the world what we can be if we stand together, united across the boundaries of black and white. So I want to challenge you to do the following. Number one, buy a shirt, buy a cap, buy a hoodie to get a tangible reminder that you have the responsibility to make a difference, and wear it in public to show that you don't want to choose a side, but you believe in a united South Africa. Number two, think of a possible solution for the division in South Africa. It can be a big solution or a very small solution, and have it ready for in case someone sees your shirt and they ask you about it. Number three, share your idea and act on it. Imagine if 60 million people start thinking about solutions for this country and start to act on it. Imagine how we can change this country. Number 4, get involved. If anything I've said resonated with your heart, please don't sit on the sidelines. Like, comment, share, get involved in the conversation, because anything is possible if we work together. Thank you for your time.